All right, what is going on, Ravens flock? And I am joined here today by Chris. Huge fan of Chris. Chris puts out a lot of good work during the draft, during the season. Love his tweets. Very funny member of Ravens flock. So, Chris, the Ravens obviously drop another game here at home to the Bills. Pretty rough loss, but we got to move on. Um, it's Tuesday. The Ravens are moving on to next week. They're not focusing on last week. Sure, they'll look at things to improve, but Chris, to get into it, Ravens pass offense. Last week they have 144 yards, 20 completions. Definitely the weather played a huge factor in that. But Chris, coming to this game, how are you feeling about the pass offense? Do you think they could take advantage of maybe the Bengals' pass defense, or do you how are you feeling about it, Chris?
Well, a big piece of this is going to be Rashad Bateman's health because he's supposed to be that second guy after Andrews. So we know teams are going to look at what the Bills did and they're going to try to replicate that. And I think the Bengals have the personnel to actually try to do that. With the safeties that they got Jesse Bates, they have Von Bell. Those two guys are really good. They're not the superstars, like a Derwin James, but those two working in tandem are one of the best duos in the league. And their corners are no slouches either. So it's going to be big to have Rashad Bateman, but Lamar has to lock in this game. He kind of looked a little off, and we know in the rain sometimes that could be, that's not really Lamar's element playing in the rain like that. So hopefully we can have some better weather, and I think if we do, I think we'll see a big bounce back game from him, especially if the O line could hold up.
Definitely agree there. I think I'm on par with you with the Bengals pass defense. Jesse Bates is probably the best single high cover one, cover three safety in the league. Um, he plays it very well. He knows how to break on the ball. Von Bell, very underrated player there as well. So, um, Rashad Bateman being out could be huge. I don't know what the status is like. Obviously, they said day to day, but wearing a boot after a game is pretty concerning to me. So, um, it's gonna be on guys like Devin Duvernay, Tylen Wallace, James Prochet, Demarcus Robinson to maybe step up if Rashad Bateman is out, and we'll see what happens. Because I mean, it's kind of an even matchup in my opinion when we're looking at the pass offense versus the pass defense. Like, um, you got Mark Andrews, but they also have good safeties and good linebackers as well in pass coverage. They can probably at least try and cover them a little bit. You got Jermaine Pratt, Keen Davis Gaither, and Logan Wilson. So I don't know, man. It's such a tough matchup. And when I think it comes down to it, it's probably what determines this game. Like, is who's going to block better on the offensive line in terms of pass protection, and flipping to that and segueing to it, the Bengals pass offense. So obviously Joe Burrow is like one of the most stacked quarterbacks this league. Despite the amount of money they've thrown at the offensive line, it does not seem like it's fixed it so much. But it's also been a lot of sacks on Joe Burrow. So Chris, what are your thoughts on this Bengals pass offense? Do you think that they maybe kind of redo what they did last year against our pass defense? Do you think we may get the better of them? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think this secondary is going to be chomping at the bit for this matchup. I think this is one that they circled once the schedule came out because they need revenge. Last year, we all saw what happened. Right now, Marlowe's playing at a really high level. MP, this is going to be his third game back, so working out the rust. And the secondary's healthy. Brandon Stevens, he played a good game against the Bills. He looked good. And Marcus Williams, he's playing at an all pro level right now. So those dudes, and Kyle Hamilton, he started off a little shaky, but I think he's calmed down a bit. His doesn't seem like his head is spinning out there anymore like it was those first couple of weeks. So you get him calmed down, and I think that secondary, they're really going to rise to the occasion. And they kind of did against the Bills, too. I know there was some drops on the Bills side, but you hold that pass offense in check. And I get it, it was raining, but, you know, you still got to make plays and you still got to be in position. And they did that. You know, I know they had that drive at the end, but there wasn't the big plays over the top like in the Miami game. There wasn't any of those debacles. So it was a pretty good game for them considering who they were going up against.
Yeah, definitely agree. I think that was a huge step in the right direction for the pass defense, especially after the Miami game. Um, like you said, Marcus Williams, probably one of the best signings we've had over the last like 5 years. Like he is what was tailored to be in a free agency. He's came in and he's just made play after play. Marlon Humphrey's playing at a once again back at the All Pro level, putting himself in position. 2 picks in 2 weeks. And then you have Marcus Peters, who's also playing very well. So those three guys are gonna spearhead this pass defense this week. And when it comes down to it, it's going to come down to I think the third matchup of okay, how is Tyler Boyd or if they put Jamar Chase in the slot, like how is the Bengals offense going to use them against our third corner, which I think is probably going to be one of the most deciding factors in this game. And so you look at someone like Brandon Stevens, Pepe Williams, to come in the slot, or maybe some linebackers shifting out there in the slot. And yeah, I really think this is like if there was any time that we would have the numbers to match up with the Bengals, it'd be this game because we have everybody healthy, we have the corners to do it, and I really do like this matchup for us. I do. I think that we can shut down this Bengals offense at least to a point where they're not getting so many explosive plays. But um, you obviously you have to account for Jamar Chase. You have to account for T. Higgins, and then you have Hayden Hurst also as well. Maybe a little revenge game out there. Who knows with that? I mean, no, I'm not the biggest Hayden Hurst fan, but he is there. So I really do like our matchup,
Yeah.
Chris. I
I,
really do. Good.
I wonder if this is a week where like Marlowe will go in and ask Mike McDonald, like, yo, I need this get back. Like, let me follow Jamar around. Like, I need this get back. Like, I feel like this is the time where you kind of pull that card and you're like, yo, I need that back because last year it was ugly. Last year we all saw what happened and what Jamar Chase did. It wasn't pretty, and Marlo wants to get that back. So I wonder if this is a week where he kind of tugs at Mike McDonald's shirt a little bit. It's like, let me get that.
Right. That's a good point. Honestly, like, um, no, knowing Marlon, he definitely is chomping at the bit. To get a little bit of get back after what happened in that game last year, and I I think like the way Marlon is playing, he's playing back at that level where I felt super comfortable with him on wherever he played. Um, and so having him outside on Chase, I think that's going to be a pretty big matchup if that does happen. So, um, man, it is really impressive to see the way that Marcus Williams does things for this defense.
Hmm.
I just think it really like it opens everything up. It opens up Marlon being able to like press up on corners, knowing he has safety help over top. It opens up the way Marcus Peters is going to go back to gambling. So I really think they can put some pressure on this Bengals offense because this and we'll flip to it now. This Bengals offensive line is not very good, Chris. And I do think our defensive line can really get after him, especially with Dafe Owe. I think this is the game for where Dafe Owe kind of puts a little more sacks than pressures on the game. Um, Maybe Jason Pierre-Paul picks one off, but um, I mean they have Leo Collins and Jonah Williams, and they're okay, they're good, they're solid, but um, I really think that our interior can get some push on this Bengals offensive line. So Chris, flipping to the front seven versus each other, the Bengals offensive line, the Ravens defensive line. What are you thinking about that matchup? Do you think the Ravens offensive line Ravens defensive line, excuse me, can get after the quarterback here?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Everybody's been doing it. You know, everybody that the Bengals have been playing, and shout out to Cole Jackson because during the offseason when everybody was like, damn, the Bengals are loading up on the offensive line. Cole was like, nah, these guys ain't it, and we're going into week 5, and this offensive line has been pretty damn bad. So, yeah, this is, like you said, this is a get right game for the defensive line, who, they've been getting after the quarterback a little bit, but it hasn't been at the consistent rate that we would like it to be. When you have guys like Matabike, you got Calais Campbell, you got Odafe Owe, you want to see just a little bit more production and kind of get those timely sacks, which is they couldn't get last week. So hopefully they can exploit that weakness, because that truly is their weakest spot on the roster is their offensive line. So if they can attack that, get Burrow out of his game, rough him up a little bit, then you already know the kind of day that it would be for him.
Right, and he really has been getting beat like a drum back there. Like
Hmm.
I think it's something ridiculous. Excuse me, at least like 15 sacks for him so
Yeah.
far. I know last week was 13. I'm assuming two more is added. So, um, yeah, if Matabike and the guys in the interior, maybe Travis Jones breakout game, who knows how many snaps he gets, but those guys, they're gonna have a good chance to really push the pocket and let these guys outside win one-on-one matchups. So another interesting thing is obviously Justin Houston was out last game, but
Mm.
maybe he comes back this game off the groin injury, gets a little bit of valuable third down snaps in there on pass situations, get some pass rush. Um, and Ty, I don't know what Tyus Bowser's situation is. I'm going to assume he's not going to be back this week, but if he is, that's a huge plus. But this is the game for the Ravens defensive line to really make a statement, to really uh, go out there and have like a 3, 4, 5 sack type game where we just absolutely dominate the line of scrimmage. Because like Cole said, I'm not confident in this Bengals offensive line. Joe Burrow's has been getting, like I said, smashed, beaten up, and he's also had some pretty poor pocket awareness in terms of where the pressure is coming from. So um, and also, one thing I want to point out is the Bengals' pass plays have been all absolutely poorly designed. If you think like you can hate on Greg Roman all you
Hmm.
want, but like Zach Taylor's concepts this year have been really bad. From what I've seen like on the film watch, it's just his like the running concepts, the passing concepts, they don't look anywhere close to what it was last year. So speaking of that, Chris, flipping to the running side of things, the Ravens run offense, the Bengals rush defense. So the Bengals lose DJ Reader, one of the best nose tackles in the league, but they do have some guys in there, BJ Hill, and such. So, Chris, what are you feeling about how the Ravens can run the ball against this Bengals front?
Well, like you said, man, DJ Reader being out, that's huge. He's one of the most underrated players in the league, and he's a key cog to that defense. One of the best nose tackles in the league, and Linderbaum would have had his hands full going up against him. That's the matchup that scared me the most when Linderbaum was drafted. I was like, damn, when DJ Reader gets his hands on him, it's gonna be a tough watch, because DJ Reader does that to Pro Bowlers. So undersized center, that was gonna be a long day. So I'm glad that he's not playing. Um, but I like what I saw from the offensive line last week. Obviously, there are plays where they could be better, mainly on the goal line. But just as far as run blocking, it seemed like this line is getting that continuity back bit by bit, and that's such an underrated part of offensive line plays. Knowing how to work in tandem, across the board from left tackle, left guard, right tackle. Those guys need time to gel, and I think last week we kind of saw the beginning of that, and in the first half anyway, where they were opening up rushing lanes for J.K. Then Justice Hill had that third quarter where he looked phenomenal before the hamstring injury. So hopefully they could build off of that. Um, I know there's a lot of hope that Ronnie will be back this week, so cross our fingers on that. But I think the offensive line has looked pretty good. So Yeah, it's a lot better than I expected it to. That's for sure. If you tell us in the beginning of the season, you know, Daniel Falale and Ben Powers are going to be starting on the left side of the line, I'd have been like, damn, poor Lamar. But it's been holding up. Like it's not stellar. It's not all pro, you know, left side of the line, but it's been good enough where Lamar isn't getting killed, and they're actually, opening up some rushing lanes. So hopefully they build off of that, and hopefully Ronnie comes back.
Yeah, definitely. Ronnie Stanley's status this week is pretty huge. And I threw out something random early in the offseason. I said, what if Daniel Falele can play at a Pro Bowl level starting out? What does that do for your offensive line? And so far, I mean, that last week, the first game he had his learning curve. He really did.
Yeah,
The first half, I think he allowed 2 sacks, 3 pressures, but in the second half, nothing. So he comes into this next game, no pressures, according to I think the few things I saw charted. So um, really, it's going to be how well can the Ravens run the ball on the inside. I think that's something that's probably going to be huge. The veer, the counter bash, all that stuff. How the Ravens would utilize that inside zone, power up the middle, ISO, however you want to call it. But Chris, I think that's going to be huge for us this week. Is how without DJ Reader being there, how well can they run the ball on the inside? And this is definitely going to be a big test, in my opinion, for Tyler Linderbaum's ability to get to second level and the ability for the Ravens to execute inside combo blocks. I think that's something that I would love to see this week is how well they can run inside zone, um, how well Tyler Linderbaum can execute power on the inside. And through the first couple weeks, he's done it well. He's done it very well. He's gotten to the second level. We were watching it just last week on Jason's show about how he's climbing to second level, and so I feel good about the running attack. I am very curious to see Hendrickson, Cam Sample, and Osai, the 3 edge rushers they have. See how well they attack Morgan Moses and Falele on the outside, because I do think that could be a very interesting matchup. I was a huge Cam Sample fan coming out of the draft. Obviously, Hendrickson is really ramped up his play, and so maybe not the week to run outside zone, but we'll see what happens because Daniel Falele has been playing very very well, like you noted. So
yeah, man.
um,
I
good.
wonder, like you said when you started, uh, if he plays at a high level, where does that put them? And I honestly think that Morgan Moses, there's a chance that Morgan Moses might be the third best right tackle on the team. To be honest, um, I think Makari's better than him, and I think Falale might be better than him too. Um, I I don't want to say I've been disappointed with his play, but it hasn't been to the level that I would have liked to see. There have been a lot of just sloppy play where he's just ducking his head and just diving at people, at defenders that aren't even there. And I think you can get more consistent play from those other two players than you can from Morgan Moses. Not to say that he's been terrible. I don't want to put it like that. That's just I think Makar is just a better right tackle than he is, and I think with Falale, I would rather have that youth in there.
Right, and I mean, not to note last year's things, but he did allow like I think 40 pressures last year, which was I think third in the league as a tackle. So yeah, don't want to get into a whole rant about how we sign cheap players, but um, yeah, I mean you pay what you get for. So I agree with you. I think it is time if Ronnie Stanley's back is maybe put Falele there at right tackle, or if you're not confident in that, put Makari there at right tackle. But not like you said, he's not a liability, but he's also not a Pro Bowler, um, or even an exceptional to good right tackle. I think he's probably somewhere in like the 20s, late 20s range of right tackles in the NFL, which is okay, but it's not the greatest. So flipping to the Bengals rush offense, Chris. Joe Mixon is averaging 2.7 yards per carry. Not a lot of push they're getting from the offensive line. Um, Chris, what do you think about this Joe Mixon led rushing attack? They do throw in a little bit of end arounds here and there with Jamar Chase. That is something I did notice. But besides that, what do you think about this Bengals rushing offense? Is it something you think could determine a lot of things this game? Are you not worried about it? Where are you at?
No, I got to be worried about it because the Ravens' rush defense hasn't been good this year. I mean, this could be. We talked about a get right game for our defensive line. This could be a get right game for their rushing attack because even with Michael Pierce, the run defense has not been good. So I think this is a game where we can't sleep on it. We can't be like, oh, they suck running the ball because we suck defending the run. So I think this is a game where they cannot let the run game go off because once you let that happen, I mean, we've seen it with the Ravens where they get the run game going and then it just opens everything else up for Lamar. And we can't have that happen because if they get the running game going, then it's going to open stuff up for Jamar. It's going to open stuff up for Higgins, and we don't want Joe Burrow being comfortable because once he's comfortable and he starts locking in, it could be a very very long game.
For sure, and I agree with you. I think the Ravens are currently 23rd in yards per attempt in the rushing game, somewhere around like five. I saw Kevin KO as I call him. He put out a stat like that earlier. So um, yeah, I think the biggest thing for me this game is probably you're gonna have to put um you're gonna have to figure out a way. Because look, if you're building a running back and you want the most balanced running back in terms of receiving, rushing, I think Joe Mixon's like pretty up there. Like he's not, he maybe you have Jonathan Taylor ahead of him, but like if you just want like a creative player in like Madden, who do you want? You want Joe Mixon, absolute tank with the ball in his hands. He's thick in the legs. He's got Sanders pants, as like Spencer likes to say. And he can break tackles. So, um, yeah, I think it's something to keep an eye on, especially with the way our run defense has been playing. But we'll see, man. We really will see. Because I think if we can put them in a negative game script early where they don't have to run the ball and they're going to have to be forced to pass, I think that's where our defense can take over. You saw them make 3 turnovers right away in the first in this Bills game, and of course, weather probably had a little bit to play with that because the ball's slippery. But um, you know, it's going to be very curious to see how we can hopefully we can put them in a negative game script. Hopefully we can put them in a situation where they're forced to pass. And of course, they have a deadly passing offense, but I'd rather have that than to be 27-24 leading going into the second quarter, or Jesus, the third or fourth quarter, where they can run the ball and probably take advantage of our run defense. So I agree with you there. Our run defense has not been the greatest, and it is hard to rely on turnovers. It really, really is. It's a very sporadic thing, and it'll be very interesting to see how the Ravens can somehow contain Joe Mixon, so to say, because I do think I agree with you. This is a get right game for them in terms of the rushing attack. I think that they can get right because of the way our run defense is played. But one thing I will always say is run defense is probably run defense is probably one of the least valuable phases in football. As long as you can put a opponent into a negative game script, you don't have to rely on the run defense more, and you can go into dime and nickel and such. But Chris, one last thing. What is your score prediction, sir? Ravens versus Bengals Sunday night. Hopefully, we are wearing all black uniforms. Please wear all black uniforms. What is your score prediction between these two teams?
I'm gonna say I'm gonna say 24-17 Ravens.
All right, 24-17 Ravens. So I went with it last week, and I think I'm going to double down on it. I got 31-30 Ravens, fourth quarter, Justin Tucker field goal. This has got to hit sometime, somehow, some way. But I think that um, obviously isn't gonna rain this game. Hopefully, at least in the weather app where I live, it says it's not gonna rain Sunday. So if I go to the game, it rains again. I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. But um, I my record at being at Ravens games is I want to say 7-2, 7-2 or something like that. And I went to the Browns Monday night game last year, and Lamar threw 4 picks, and we still won. So,
Hey.
with me, hey, with me being there, I think we give a little added luck to it. I do think that we get that last field goal there at the end of the fourth quarter and pull it out. But man, I'll say what if we lose, we really need to start questioning a lot of things. But hopefully it doesn't come to that. Chris, thank you for joining me here today.
No
Any
doubt.
last comments before we get out of here?
Nah, man, I appreciate you having me on. I know you started just started the channel, so best of luck to you. Hope it grows and grows and grows. Um, and appreciate you, man. Appreciate you having me on. Always good talking to you. And anybody want to check us out, Deep Cover Pod. You can hit us up on Twitter. We got a YouTube channel as well, so hit us up. And with my co-host Kerry Stevenson and Michael Crawford, check us out. Appreciate you, Yuri.
Yeah, for sure, Chris. We've always had good interactions over Twitter, over the draft. The draft when I came on D cover, I think twice, both days, and then recently with Jason. So once again, obviously, appreciate you for coming on here. You always are very, very welcome on here, and you also have a very good attitude about you. A lot of people on here who watch film and such. Sometimes they come with a little condescending tone, but Chris, every time I talk to you, I feel like I learned something, and that is something I can appreciate. So, Chris, thank you for coming on. I will see you guys next time. Peace.